Hello. In this video, I'm going to talk about the box. So the box is the 1 to 2 inches of freedom on the lead when we're practicing the Jentle method. So 1 to 2 inches of give, freedom, or slack on the lead while we're practicing the Jentle method. And we use the box in order to have more clear communication, more consistent communication, more intimate communication, and more connection with the dog that we are working with. So let's say we're walking with a dog and they have, instead of the box, they have maybe 1 to 4 feet of freedom on the lead. So the lead is maybe drooping down towards the ground, or the dog is even kind of far away from our body. And enter a trigger into the environment. And the dog goes to react to that, whether it be like fear or overexcitement, whatever the case may be, they go to react, and we would like to communicate with that dog. We are now needing to take up the slack of the lead, or even bring the dog in towards our body in order to communicate with them. And this can cause for a delay in our communication. It can allow for the dog to sit in those feelings from that trigger for a longer period of time before we're there to communicate. So the dog may go from a 2 in energy up to a 6 in energy, and then we're there to communicate and needing to ideally bring them back down to that 2. Whereas if we're moving with the dog in the box and enter that trigger, we can communicate with that dog much more promptly. It's within like a second. So the dog may go from like a 2 in energy to like a 2.5 or a 3. And it's a little easier to bring them back down to that 2 in energy. There's less time for them to sit in those feelings before we're communicating. We're communicating very promptly. Also, by maintaining the box, the 1 to 2 inches, our communication is consistent. So if a trigger enters the environment, we're communicating at the same amount of time every time, instead of sometimes communicating promptly, other times having it be more delayed, depending on how much slack there is on the lead. Because we're maintaining the same amount, we can be consistent in our communication. So with Oregon Tails, we get each dog that we work with to a point in life where they are off lead. So the dogs that we work with, they do not live their entire life within this box, within the 1 to 2 inches. We get them to a point outside of, through the Jentle method, and then outside of the Jentle method, where they can have more space. But we always start a dog within the box. And when we're practicing the Jentle method, we will always use and maintain the box. But outside of the Jentle method, we use the box as well, and we always begin there with the dog, instead of beginning them with more freedom on the lead. And we incrementally build them out to a point where they have more freedom and more freedom and more freedom until they're off lead. But we start them in this more intimate way, in a more supportive way, to help them make good decisions through life, instead of kind of being out there on their own and maybe making more mistakes, or having our help and support for them be delayed or be inconsistent, and having them need to maybe kind of fend for themselves a little bit more. We have this more intimate connection with them and each dog we work with up front, and then eventually outside of the gentle method, they get that freedom in life. So the dog is not living in the box all of their life, but we build out our relationship and foundation within the box to more intimately guide them, to feel them. And again, always when we practice the gentle method, using the box, the 1 to 2 inches. And another thing that we found is if we are moving with a dog within the box and we're noticing kind of behaviors surfacing, it's more than likely these behaviors are going to surface with 6 inches, 2 feet, 3 feet, 10 feet of freedom on the lead. It's more than likely these behaviors will surface there as well. And so we choose to work through them with more connection with the dog, more closely with the dog, where we can promptly support them and help them through it, so that when they do have that freedom of more space, they've kind of worked through the majority of that with that more intimate connection with us, and lending more of a foundation of connection and feeling the dog more intimately with that box. So another point would be that in order to maintain the box, we need to reflect on our hand placement. So our hand placement on the lead will determine the size of the box. So if our hand placement is shifting around a bunch, then the size of the box is going to be shifting around. In our practice, we want to build in reflection about our hand placement. Is our hand placement slipping? Maybe when we stop to take a moment or to praise the dog, checking our hand placement. Again, our positioning of our hand placement will determine the size of the box. So again, the box is the 1 to 2 inches of freedom on the lead that we use when we practice the gentle method. I hope that's helpful. Thank you.